And I'm pleased to introduce Wouter Hutk, which is Vice President Procurement at AkzoNobel Specialty Chemicals. And we have the pleasure where is your presentation, Wouter? It's going? No, it's... yeah, well, raw materials price volatility. Good question as well, a good presentation.
Well, I don't know yet.
You hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
You tell me.
Yeah. Please, I'll give the stage.
Okay, thank you very much for the kind words. First, I'd like to start with a round of applause for the combined presentations this morning, because the excellence of those presentations managed to kill the projector. All right. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me. So it's not, you're not tired. It's just flickering a little bit. So apologies for that. So like I'm in procurement. I buy stuff. I have a great job. And before I go into my presentation, hopefully at the end you'll have some questions for me. So I want to start off with two questions for you. Two questions. First question, really simple. So who's heard of AkzoNobel? Just show of hands. Ah, good, good. That's it. Now, second question. What do you believe my biggest challenge is? Just shout out.
Price volatility. Reduce.
Price. I hear price. What else did I hear?
Quality.
Is it the Dutch what?
Dutch legislation.
Dutch legislation.
Number of raw materials.
No.
Availability.
No.
To appoint more people.
Sorry, what was your?
To appoint more people.
So more. It is a challenge, but it's not the biggest challenge. Right. Yeah. Safety first. Safety is my biggest challenge right now.
Prices of your supplies are too low.
Sometimes it is. Actually, it's a very, very interesting remark.
Your current challenge.
My current, well, actually, yeah, current challenge. You're right. That's it. No, my biggest, and we heard it this morning. In procurement, we look at more than just price. I know we don't tell our suppliers this, but we look at more than just price. We try to extract as much value from our suppliers as we can. And we do this of course, in terms of price and cost, but availability, delivery, quality, sustainability. And the last one is innovation. Yes. And that one is my biggest challenge. That's actually why I'm here. So thanks for the invitation, Christine. When I look at the programs, I'm here to learn, because we are struggling getting innovations from our suppliers. Really, it's the hardest thing to do. And so that's why I'm here. But of course, I'm here to give something back to you as well. I'm going to talk about raw material price volatility. And this picture, I love this picture. Really, it says it all, at least for our business. It's about oil. And it's about battle. So that's why I love this picture. I'm going to start with the key takeaways. Right? So after this presentation, hopefully you'll take these messages away. In our markets, so I'm in the specialty chemicals markets, volatility is generally driven by oil price and margin battles. I'll touch on those later. Raw material price volatility is actually an opportunity. Right? When I came to AkzoNobel in 2007, and we all remember 2008 and 2009, the business leaders came to me and said, I want stability. I want stability in raw materials. Please don't have raw materials go up and down, go up and down. Today, what are they asking for? Give me volatility. But not 2%. Let it go 20% up. Please let, we had somebody from Becker's here this morning, let epoxy resins go up by 20%. Or when it goes down, let it go down by 20%, but not 1 or 2%. Disaster. What you need to have in place is a capable procurement organization, the right tools, the right processes, just a must. And the other must is, I'm not a proponent of a centralized procurement organization. Why? I think, especially, hopefully that will become clear, I think this function needs to be ingrained in the businesses, very close to our customers, the needs, and in order to understand what the business really needs. So very close alignment to the business is a must. Of course, short introduction to AkzoNobel. Most people already know it, but maybe from different perspectives. So like any respecting company nowadays, we have a purpose. And this is our purpose. We create everyday essentials to make people's lives more livable and inspiring through essential color, essential protection, and essential ingredients. Our company has around 15 billion euro in turnover. You can read the numbers, 2 billion EBITDA, present in over 80 countries, 45,000 employees, who's counting. And we have leadership positions in many markets. So you'll see some of our brands here. We have hundreds of brands, but these are generally the most known. And we're made up of 3 business areas: performance coatings, decorative paints, and specialty chemicals. Performance coatings are like industrial coatings. We heard this morning from Beckers, but marine coatings, aerospace coatings, vehicle refinishes, etc. Decorative paints are your wall paints, household paints. And specialty chemicals, the most exciting area in my view. It's my responsibility from a procurement perspective. We're in the ethylene and sulfur derivative chain. We're in some of the base chemicals like caustic, chlorine chain. We supply to the polymer producing industry. So many different specialty chemicals. We have about a third in terms of revenue. And as you can see, I'm not sure you actually can see this, but this is our regional spread. So we have actually, for instance, this is Asia Pacific. So we have quite a good global footprint. So we're not as European-centric as many people think. So here are some of our markets. So please take note, the global paints and coatings market is 100 billion euros. And we are, up till the recent merger that was announced, we were the largest player there. But we're now number 2 player. And you see in these different markets. In the chemicals industry, 3.5 trillion business. And if you've done the math, we're a fly on the wall in that business. We're nothing. And that's especially a challenge for me because our business is, you buy hundreds of millions of euros of that material, so you're a large buyer. I'm nothing, right? So I have a nice example of that. There's some Dow people in the room. We have a site that makes metal alkyls in Rotterdam that has a pipeline of ethylene. Right? So we use ethylene to make metal alkyls that go in the polymer processing industry. And we talked to Dow about, can you maybe supply us there as an alternative supplier? So what is your annual usage? Yeah, a few thousand tons. And he started laughing. That's 10 minutes flaring. Right? Our annual demand. So we don't have a position. Right? So how do we try to distinguish ourselves from our competition is really through market insight. So market insight to deliver competitive advantage. It's not leverage. So oil. Oil is in the chemicals area where we buy a predominant feedstock factor. Right? Maybe I'm preaching to the choir, but I'd still like to talk to this because this is what determines our raw material volatility. Oil price has fallen 75% since June 2014 when it was 115. You remember 2018, it was at 145 and it dropped to 30. And was stable for about 5 years, which was easier but less challenging. And you'll see later we also had less opportunity to improve our margins because we missed the volatility. And now we're back in volatile times, so it's good. What happened? The United States became the largest producer of shale gas and oil. It was referred to a few times already, the shale gas and oil revolution. And I remember vividly November 27. Actually, I remember November 28 when I got calls. So when are my raw material prices dropping? Because when the OPEC failed to reach agreement on curbing the production, they started to plummet the oil prices. And we couldn't get out to the markets fast enough to make sure we got our low raw material prices in quickly. So I remember that time very well. And the oil price, is partly determined by supply and demand, but much more around speculation and also what we call expectation in the market. What's happening now? So today, the demand for oil, these are general statements. I can make 16 slides of this, but just some general statements. Demand is low because of low economic activity. What we also see increased efficiency. So when the cash cost of shale has dropped, so they've become much more efficient. And we see a switch away from oil to other fuels, like we've heard in some of the previous presentations. We see course, turmoil, Iraq and Libya, but it's not so much affecting their output. So supply is still high, demand is low, supply-demand imbalance, not good. And this is not a lot of people know, but we have huge inventories in the whole system, more than a year worth of oil in the system. Does anybody have more than a year's worth of inventories in their company here? You'd be shot, right? So actually it's crazy that the oil price is still at 45.50. It's about speculation. Iran, of course, came upstream, and the Saudis in the Gulf decided not to sacrifice their market share. So we don't know where it's going to go. Interesting times. Now, I'm a chemical engineer, so I love this picture, and it's not as nice as yours. I agree. Essence to this all is knowing your value chain. So everybody in the procurement organization, this is just a few of the materials that we buy. We buy about 7,000 materials, so yes, it is a challenge, the number of materials. They're somewhere on this map. And understanding what we call, there's some chemists in the room as well, the stoichiometrics of the different materials are very, very important. So if oil goes up $10, what does that theoretically do in your value chain? All right? So we know exactly what ought to happen. But then the supply-demand comes in. For instance, oil. Oil's dropped a lot. Ethylene, you were talking about ethylene this morning. We've seen underinvestments in ethylene capacity in Europe. No big investments coming on board, and also there were the asset integrity wasn't so good. So we see a lot of force majeures in ethylene in Europe. So when ethylene was previously quite coupled to the naphtha and the oil price, now we see a detachment. So ethylene is currently very high priced, right? So our business leaders say oil drops so much, ethylene has to go down that much. Nah, there's a margin battle there. The oil companies were first making money, and the ethylene crackers are now making money. Right? It's the margin battle. So what do? We take the stoichiometrics. All our buyers have to know supply-demand balances, and then market insight, what I talked about earlier, market insight. And together with that, we make price forecasts. Right? So for 90% of our raw materials, we make price forecasts. So we start with oil, natural gas. This is just an example. Ethylene, derivatives, and this is purposely small. I just got the question, can you share this presentation? I still have to look what I put in this here, because this is a specific raw material and the price level and where we see it moving the coming 18 months in advance. So that we do every month, 18 months in advance. And, very important, we measure our forecast accuracy. Third question, which one is the budget curve? Easy, right? Must be this one. We're always wrong in budget. This is just this is a real example. So every month we forecast ahead 18 months. The next month we saw how well did we forecast? And 3 months ahead, how well did we forecast 3 months ago where we are today? And you see that they become closer and closer. The reason why we do that is to prevent conservatism, sandbagging. Right? You know that. So we think they're going to go up so much, and then it doesn't go up so much, and the buyers look good. We want to take that out of the system. And it also increases the trust with the business and sales force. Very important, because we say we believe that this material is going to go up for these and these reasons. In the past, they said, "But I don't believe it," and then it happened. They say, "Well, we told you so." Right? So you're not accurate in your forecasting. And actually, it's been improving over time once we made it a KPI. So we have a 3 months ahead, and a 6 months ahead, and a 9 months ahead forecast accuracy KPI. I love this picture. It's very complex. I'm not going to explain all of it. This is our margin management process. So this is a business process. What happens every single month is each of these raw materials are linked to a bill of material. Forecast, it goes up by this much. It goes through different pricing methodologies, and a new suggested price for the customer theoretically comes out. All right? And it goes into the PMM cycle, and by that way we manage our margins. We provide our sales force with the arguments, the data, and the sheets, etc., to go to the customers and sell price increases. And this is easier when things are going like this, especially this. Especially this. Yeah? I have people that came up to me and said, can you give me 20% increase in oxy resins as long as my competitors are getting the same, or 21%, right? It's that area when it starts dropping again, when you start holding on. It's not about the long term, but it's about the short term. So the quicker you react, the better. That's where you gain margin. I wanted to put in a slide on how successful this is, but for confidentiality reasons, I cannot put in a slide how much margins we've been improving by doing this, okay? But it's good. So in summary, how am I doing on time, Greg? It's an opportunity, it's not a threat. And very close alignment in the procurement function with the business is an absolute must. That's my presentation. Any questions? I'm happy to take.
Any question from the audience, please?
Don't be shy. Here.
Monsieur.
One question. In your introduction, you talk about innovation. You were asking innovation from your suppliers. And what is the link with the presentation? I don't see the link.
There is no link with the presentation. The two things came together nicely. I was asked to give a presentation here, and I get asked to give a presentation once in a while, and normally I don't because of these procurement conferences, right? I go to the procurement conference and I tell the story and everybody sits there glazing at me and is not interested. So one, it's a diverse audience with not procurement people, and the other is innovation is a big challenge, so I'm here to learn from you.
Yeah. Innovation is as well an opportunity?
Innovation, I think it's after sustainability, the biggest opportunity.
Okay.
Here in the back, there's a question.
Thanks very much. Excellent. I love the presentation. Richard Northcote from Covestro. You talked about sustainability, but you didn't mention it in your presentation. So I'm just wondering, how important is it, and what are you looking for when you're procuring in the field of sustainability?
Yeah. Okay. Sustainability, as many of you hopefully know, AkzoNobel has been leading the chemical sector for 4 years in a row, up until this year, unfortunately. yeah, that's it. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
DSM. But not in the procurement area, we're still leading. Okay. And that's right. So sustainability has been very important for a number of years. So we started off with doing the basic compliance stuff, code of conduct type of things, doing what we call a supplier support visit program. So we go visit our suppliers in high-risk countries where we help them to become better into safety and sustainability, etc. And then we started the carbon footprint era. So for all our raw materials, we know our carbon footprint, and we're currently in the process of addressing this with our suppliers. So how can we improve the carbon footprint? And right now we're at a stage, and possibly fueled by the fact that we're not #1 in the Dow Jones Sustainability Index anymore, we're going to be stepping up our efforts, and we're actually going to be including a holistic supplier sustainability score, which includes a value on carbon. Right, so we're going to actually put in a value on carbon in this. So we add something to the price, depending on how much carbon is used, and use that in the supplier selection process. So that's quite new. So far, sustainability is sort of separate, but we're going to actually be incorporating suppliers. So it's going to be a differentiator for our suppliers. Yeah.
Next question. Two questions here.
Yeah, Daniel Without from Evonik. Thank you for the very nice presentation. Sure. I really enjoyed that. Previously, we heard here from Becker or Becker Group that they work with their customers on a new business model innovation. So my question to you is: do you work also with your suppliers on new business models? And then could you share some examples for that?
Business models in terms of sustainability, innovation, or
Yeah, business model in the way you do the business. Instead of buying the product per kg, you could say, well, if you would guarantee me this kind of functionality or this kind of performance, then I pay you different. Yeah. So the different models to work together.
Very rarely. Very rarely. In a previous company, Philips Electronics, we did do those things. So we didn't specify. We bought on functional specifications, right? So we're not asking you what component to supply, but we want it to perform this task, right? So and we're not nearly. There's probably some examples of where we look at different business models, but we at AkzoNobel, like many companies, still have, and we have a conversation over lunch earlier, still have this not invented here syndrome as well. Right, so we do not tend to open up easily to suppliers to actually help us. Right? And it's a big frustration for me because, you know, even though we have 45,000 people, if you combine the brains power of all our suppliers, it's so big and we're not making use of it. And it's frustrating for me. And it has to do with not letting people in your kitchen.
No, the background of my question is that you could say, well, really the job that I need to be done is this kind of thing, and I'm really not interested in buying it in kilograms from you, but if you solve my problem this way, then I pay you for that. Is this an attitude you go to your suppliers, or
no.
you just say, well, I need that much of quantity, what's the price?
No, it's in the chemicals, yeah, it's, I understand your question, but it's, I don't see that, I think we're very far away from that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Probably you answered a part of my question there already.
Okay.
If you're really looking for innovation with your suppliers,
Yeah.
is it in terms of business model, or is it in terms of technology, or is it in terms of what innovation?
Yeah,
Because number one,
Yeah.
number two, whether do you really assign a value for that? Because this is something also very important.
So in terms of innovation, we define it not just in terms of new products, new technologies, but also it could be supply chain innovations, like bringing products more easy to us, or having a tolling deal or something. So that's how we define innovation. We don't put a value on innovation. We in a selection process. We do have a supplier management process, and that's where we give a sort of a value to how we think the innovative capabilities of a supplier are, right? Because we believe the higher performing suppliers are those that are competitive, are good on sustainability, good on innovation, good on quality, good on delivery, and we will never get value from them if they're not doing well there, right? So it's a combination of those two, but we don't have that value. For sustainability, yes, we have a scorecard, but it's not currently in the supplier selection process yet. Okay?
Okay, thanks. One more question? Yeah.
I have one question. I like your model with following up the price trends on a monthly base.
Yeah.
But how much of your contracts do you can really negotiate on a monthly base? So when you have a yearly contract, I mean, it's nice to have these fluctuations, but you cannot change it over the period of time. So what is your average, let's say, contract period?
Oh. That's actually it's not just negotiated, right? Give you like ethylene is a nice example. Ethylene, we have a contract minus a percentage. We negotiate that for probably a period of 2-3 years. But then monthly, ethylene is doing like this, right? And that affects our cost position. So it's not always about the negotiation. And so it's really the market insight, because we don't really know what's going to come out of a negotiation. So some of the materials are negotiated monthly, some quarterly, some annually, and some have 2-3 years. There is no. If I give you an average, it's meaningless.
I was just wondering, because you mentioned, okay, you make in the end profit out of that by adjusting the prices, or renegotiate the prices, or you make value out of these. And I was just wondering, I mean, if you do it on a monthly basis, how fast you can react? I mean, if you see price jumps or down, right?
We're getting faster. I think and actually we're getting faster as we speak, because I think November 2014 was a big learning for us, because we were, in my opinion, we were a bit too slow, right? Because all of our suppliers, they're not calling us and say, hey, you want a lower price? No, yeah, you got to go after it. So I think it's getting faster, but it's never fast enough, because it's the difference between when we get the lower prices and when we have to pass it through. Because our customers are smart people too, right? They have smart people buying, and they do these value chain analysis as well, I hope, right? And they'll come to, hey, this is what ethylene did. When am I going to get a lower price or when am I going to get a higher price? Customers usually don't ask for that. So the quicker we are, and the longer we can. Usually, it's about 2-3 months window where you can grab some margin, and that's competitive advantage. Speed and insight.
Can you give an example of the business advantage of making use of this volatility projections? Yeah,
like I said, I wanted to put in a nice margin picture.
Except for the margin.
Well, that's where the success comes in, right? We had one of our businesses, which was our packaging coatings business, in 2008 2009. Remember those times, right? They had the best year ever. And why? Because we rode the up and down market. So they had their best contribution margin historically in 2009. Which is because we were able to act really quickly based on what we saw in the markets and hold as long as we could.